people say to me, you look okay. There's nothing wrong with you. And that's really difficult.
तो ये दर्द इससे ऐसा दर्द है कि ये बिल्कुल तुम्हारी जिंदगी पर एक होल्ड लाइशन है कि तुम बिल्कुल तुम्हारी जिंदगी एक किस्म में थम ही जानी है.
At times it feels like I'm within a vessel that isn't necessarily mine, and I don't really have control over how I act or how I feel.
I have sharp pain, but also consistent aching pain.
It feels almost like I'm being constricted and tied down almost.
It's always there and I know I can't change it.
कई दफ़ा पेट आफरी जैसी, कई दफ़ा इस तरह तकलीफ होती जिस तरह आहिने सारी बॉडी खली की है ते बासों में मरने में थी.
I don't know what to do with my pain. I sit down, I get up, I walk around because the pain is so bad.
It's not a 9 to 5 pain, it gets you when it feels like it. I have this vision in my head which is called 4 chairs, and it's basically a dining table with 4 chairs at it. There's my wife and my 2 daughters eating dinner and my chair is empty, and that was what life was like for many years.
There have been quite a lot of things I've had to give up. I had to stop working because it was just not possible. It was unbearable, and the work itself was aggravating it. I was in a relationship at the time that ended. I withdrew from my friends.
My background was in social work, and then I obviously became ill, and I wasn't able to do that job fully because I had a chronic health condition. For me, it was a big change from somebody who was working and out in the community and actually having that, because work was a big part for me.
When it's bad, it's unbearable, and there were times where I just couldn't see how I could carry on with it. I wasn't sleeping, I had widespread pain, I couldn't get comfortable, I couldn't get any relief. It was essentially a living hell.
It was involved, several times going to your GP and seeing a consultant, but nobody was able to pin it down what it was. Well, if there's no diagnosis, am I just imagining this? And you're in a sort of very dark place. You can't go back to being the person that you were, but maybe there are things that you can do that are still meaningful to you and have some value.
And so my mind goal now is to be on that chair. Making myself want to live better with pain is to be on that chair.
Do I really want to live my life popping tablets all the time? I want to live well and I want to thrive. So therefore, I've researched alternative methods that help manage pain. I'm not allowing it to manage me, even though it tries. I'm managing it.
I've gotten very good at masking and distracting myself and sort of playing off a character that doesn't have this pain.
What helps me stay engaged? Taking the dogs on walks at regular times that I meet certain people that I enjoy talking to.
She's a type of emotional support animal. She is my rock, my bedding. She helps me through everyday life, and she brings me a sense of joy when all else feels kind of lost.
And I live in the middle of central London, and especially when the sun is shining, it's warm. Although when I go out and I sit out there, I do end up in a bit of pain, but it is nice.
हाली प्यार है तो करी तो कोई नहीं सकना. फिर अल्लाह जिसे सो नमाज अल्लाह से सोचनी हो तो बंदे की थोड़ी हिम्मत.
When I think about swimming, it brings a smile to my face. I feel so free in the water. I feel so calm. Also, it's helping me to have some social activity with my kids.
It can be overwhelming and it can be challenging. You do have to have real resilience and strength of courage and character.
I got there eventually when I started to accept my condition, when I do accept myself.
ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਏ ਦੱਸਣੇ ਆ ਉਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਾਣੇ ਇਹ ਦਰਦ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਏ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਸ ਕਰਨੇ ਆ
I think that was my experience initially. I've got pain, I'm going to shut down, I'm not going to do this. And actually there were things I could have carried on, and I wish I had, and so I had to rebuild those later on. For me, probably was doing a pain management program which started to give me some tools that I could use. It's like feeding an animal. I've got to give it certain things, certain treats, and I've got to walk it and exercise it. If I do those things, it will behave itself reasonably. It's still lurking in the background, growling, but it's not actively ripping me to pieces.
It's basically like working out, how much energy you have in a day and what jobs you've got that day to do. At the moment, I think I've come to a balance. I'm somebody who's quite involved in other ways of giving back through the community, whether that's some volunteering that I do or whether the other things around, research projects.
Being involved in this research project, I've met new people, you develop new relationships, you learn new skills, so I'm a different person. I've kept some of what I was before I had pain, or before my pain was so bad, but things have changed, and I've learned and had new experiences I would have had.
The medical field is clear and it's white and it's clean and it's straightforward, but when you're at home and you're in pain, it's far from straightforward. We do need that voice. We do need to disrupt that clinical thinking.
The question about pain and pain research and living with pain is something that I've come to recently. I didn't really understand who was doing it, where they were doing it, what they were trying to achieve. I was in my own little pain bubble, and that was all there was. And so learning and understanding about pain research has been like a mind-blowing experience for me.
I really wanted to be involved in research because I have a voice for myself, but also advocating and championing others who don't necessarily have a voice.
People living with pain, I think if you can explain your pain.
It's reiterated to me that I'm not alone in what I go through.
It might just be completing an online survey with a number of questions. It might be sharing your experience with an organisation.
They're not bringing me in as a token gesture. They actually want to know what it's like, but also how can I help influence their research.
पर दर्द की चीज़ है कि वो जिस बंदे पर जिसकी होना पता सके होना.
Powers that be and the individuals that are, creating the policies, they need to know how your pain affects you.
I think people who live with pain can actually contribute. First of all, you're the expert. I started doing the research. Some of the focus groups and research actually started online with the COVID-19 pandemic. The researcher was really good because they allowed conversations to flow. They allowed the group to be able to shape how they wanted to answer that. It's been person-centred the whole way through, and it's been a real co-production.
Every project will be slightly different, which means expanding the sphere of knowledge and understanding the science of pain and the science of living with pain.
Research for me has opened up so many opportunities. I go back to it about my values and helping people, but also be listened to and be empowered. It's the best thing I've ever done.
If you can, then do, because it's good for us with pain in the long term if the science improves